Before his arrest, disgraced music mogul Sean Diddy Combs was famous for holding his annual 4th of July party in the Hamptons. All of the well-known partygoers wore white, and it wasn't exactly a family-friendly event.
A standard court proceeding turned chaotic at the time Diddy's lead attorney stormed out of the courtroom after Aron Carter's tapes unexpectedly leaked. The attorney's unprecedented exit became a turning point in this high-stakes legal battle. These previously undisclosed recordings could reshape the whole ordeal. Everyone in the courtroom, including the prosecution and spectators, stood stunned by this sudden departure. What kind of information is contained in the tape? And how incriminating could they be? We'll find out shortly in this video. Stay glued to the very end. Breaking down the courtroom chaos. The courtroom was like a pressure cooker ready to explode, and it finally hit its breaking point when the prosecutors dropped those bombshell audio recordings allegedly involving Aron Carter. Seriously, you could almost feel the air shift in that room. The tension was so thick you could cut it with a knife. Even Diddy's attorney, a guy who was a master at staying cool under pressure, started to lose his composure. That's how intense things got. It's not every day that a high-powered lawyer storms out of a courtroom in front of stunned judges, reporters, and spectators. But when Diddy's attorney did just that, the entire room froze. Everyone instantly knew that something big had just happened. The tension was palpable, the whispers grew louder, and all eyes turned to the legal team in chaos. What exactly is on that tape that made a lawyer trained to handle the toughest, most scandalous cases completely lose their composure? What could be so incriminating or disturbing that it sent Diddy's attorney bolting for the door, unable to keep up the facade of control? Stick with us because we're about to dive into the full details of this jaw-dropping incident. By the time you hear what's on that tape, and why it triggered such a dramatic courtroom meltdown, you might just find yourself questioning everything you thought you knew about Diddy, his empire, and the people who've stood by his side. So what was the final straw that made the lawyers storm out like that? Well, it all boiled down to a massive piece of evidence that the prosecutors pulled out. Apparently they had documents seized during a recent jail cell search, and let's just say these weren't your run-of-the-mill papers. We're talking 19 pages of handwritten notes that Diddy's team insisted were protected under attorney-client privilege. And can you blame them? The notes reportedly included defense strategies, names of potential witnesses, and even stuff labeled legal in Diddy's own handwriting. It was like someone rummaged through the most private parts of his case prep and then threw it all out there for the world to see. Imagine how violated they must have felt. Mark Agnifilo, Diddy's lead attorney, wasn't having it. He argued that this was a blatant violation of Diddy's constitutional rights. He wasn't just upset, he was furious, and if that wasn't enough drama, prosecutors didn't stop there. They dropped even more jaw-dropping accusations, saying Diddy was trying to mess with witnesses from behind bars. They claimed he was allegedly making three-way calls through other inmates' phone privileges, like some kind of secret operation. He was supposedly pulling every trick in the book to get in touch with potential witnesses. It was wild. The government even said Diddy was making relentless efforts to influence these witnesses. When the evidence came out, the courtroom turned into pure chaos. Picture journalists and legal experts just staring in disbelief, like they couldn't believe what they were seeing unfold right in front of them. It was like being in a legal thriller where every scene outdoes the last one. And then Judge Aron had to step in and take control before things spiraled out of hand. He told the prosecutors they needed to destroy their copies of the seized notes, but the court would hang on to the originals. But that walkout wasn't just some dramatic flair, it came with real consequences. The whole bail hearing had to be delayed, which was a huge setback. Suddenly there were questions about how communication privileges were being handled, and Diddy's contact with the outside world was under a microscope. The prosecutors didn't back down 1 inch though. They argued that Diddy was a serious risk when it came to witness tampering. And they didn't just say it lightly, they brought receipts. The whole thing was messy, and the stakes couldn't have been higher. It was one of those courtroom moments that people would probably still be talking about for years to come. Diddy's lawyers paid to handle pressure, but when Aron Carter's tape leaked, even they couldn't keep it together. Why did this tape send a seasoned attorney bolting from the courtroom? What secrets does it contain that could be too damaging for Diddy to recover from? If you think you've heard all the scandals before, think again. Stay with us. This tape might just blow the lid off everything. Inside the leaked Aron Carter tapes, the investigation took a shocking turn when authorities stumbled upon some seriously unsettling digital evidence that forced an unexpected exit from the courtroom. Apparently, federal investigators uncovered what they described as a massive collection of digital content tied to Diddy's private gatherings. And here's where it gets even more jaw-dropping. Within this so-called treasure chest of evidence, there's footage that allegedly shows Aaron Carter. Now let's break this down, because it gets more disturbing the deeper you go. These recordings apparently hint at some pretty sketchy interactions between Diddy and Carter, especially during Aaron's younger years. And if you recall, before his death, Aron had been making these weirdly cryptic statements about the entertainment industry. He was dropping hints left and right, almost as if he was trying to signal for help or warn people about something. He was genuinely scared for his life. At one point, he even asked for $100,000 so he could relocate to a safe place. How desperate must someone be to publicly ask for that kind of money just to feel safe? The evidence itself is chilling. It's not just one thing, it's a whole package deal. We're talking about recordings from those elusive private gatherings where who knows what was going down behind closed doors. There are also Aaron's social media posts and direct messages like little breadcrumbs leading to something bigger. Then there are the witness statements. People who were around Aron in his final days, people who saw things or heard things that left them unsettled. On top of that, there are actual records showing that Aron was asking for protection. This guy wasn't just paranoid, he was terrified, and he felt like he needed a shield between him and whatever was threatening him. Now the timeline of all this is important too. In the late 2022, Aron starts going on these desperate public rants about posting videos that honestly were hard to watch because of how frantic he seemed. And just days before his death on November 5th, 2022, he's making these urgent appeals, trying to get the attention of anyone who would listen. He even tried reaching out to Kanye West for a private chat, but here's where things get complicated or maybe clearer depending on how you look at it. That's what the investigators are focused on now. They're meticulously going through each recording, making sure it's real and not some elaborate fake. This isn't a quick or easy process, especially since the LA County Medical Examiner had already ruled Aron's death an accident, drowning caused by the effects of difluoroethane and alprazolam. But now, with these recordings surfacing, everything is back under the microscope. It's like the case is being reopened, and this time, no stone is going to be left unturned. And just to add a twist, Chris Todd, the guy who wrote Kim Porter's explosive tell-all book, confirmed that various government agencies and multiple insiders have copies of these recordings. So it's not just some rumor floating around, it's backed by people who seem to know what they're talking about. These tapes are raising some serious questions about the circumstances of Aaron Carter's death. If the official story was just a tragic accident, why did these recordings suggest otherwise? Why did Aron feel so unsafe in the weeks leading up to his death? Investigators are now combing through every little detail they might have missed before, every connection, every interaction to see if there's more to this story. As the investigation takes this wild and unexpected turn, the truth might finally be on the verge of coming out, and if it does, it could shake the entertainment industry to its core. In the high-stakes world of celebrity scandals, nothing shocks a courtroom quite like this. Diddy's lawyer, who's seen it all, stormed out after Aaron Carter's tape leaked. What could possibly be on that recording to make a legal heavyweight walk out in a fury? Is this the piece of evidence that finally unravels Diddy's empire? Don't go anywhere, because the details of this tape will leave your jaw on the floor. Legal team's dramatic response. Diddy's legal team isn't playing nice anymore, and honestly, can anyone blame them? They've come out swinging against federal prosecutors with a brutal court filing that shows a massive shift in their game plan. Leading the charge is Mark Agnifilo, the head honcho of the defense, who didn't hold back in his memo. He basically accused the government of orchestrating a whole smear campaign against Diddy. Agnifilo specifically called out these leaks for creating a flood of damaging, highly prejudicial pre-trial publicity. And if you think that sounds bad, oh, it gets worse. The defense is also highlighting a laundry list of issues with how the whole investigation has been handled. First off, there's the claim of government misconduct during the property searches, like did the agents just go in guns blazing for no reason? Then there's the fact that the defense says these federal agents used excessive force during the raids, and let's not forget the cherry on top, the accusation that federal agents actively stirred up the media to make Diddy look bad. It's almost like they wanted to write their own sensationalized Netflix documentary. If true, that's a pretty low blow. So why this sudden switch up in strategy? Well, a bunch of recent events have forced Diddy's legal team to rethink their whole approach. They've now beefed up the squad, pulling in some serious legal heavyweights like Alexandra Shapiro, the same powerhouse lawyer handling Sam Bankman-Fried's appeal. Clearly they aren't messing around. The new focus, challenging the legitimacy of the evidence that was seized during the raids and making a big deal out of the possibility that some of the materials were protected by attorney-client privilege. And let's be real, if any of those rights were violated, that's a major no-no. The team is also pushing to have the charges thrown out entirely on the grounds of constitutional violations. Of course, all these dramatic twists and turns are shaking up the way this case is unfolding. The judge, Aron has actually ordered the prosecutors to prove they didn't leak any information, talk about putting them on the spot. He's also instructed both sides to figure out a way to agree on a reciprocal gag order. Basically, everyone needs to zip their lips if they want to keep things fair. With all this chaos, the trial date is now locked in for May 5th, 2025. Mark your calendars because it's going to be one heck of a showdown. Prosecution's strategic moves. Okay, so picture this. Sean Diddy Combs' case was already on everyone's radar, right? But just when you thought things couldn't get messier, boom, the prosecution decides to turn up the heat by bringing in Maureen Comey, the same prosecutor who's known for locking down convictions in some really high-profile trafficking cases. If that doesn't scream, we're getting serious now, what does? It's like the prosecution just brought in their star player for the final quarter of a championship game. And honestly, can you blame them? They clearly want to make sure every stone is turned over, every thread is pulled, and every possible advantage is in their court. But wait, it gets juicier. The prosecution didn't stop at just beefing up their team. They also laid out some seriously damning new evidence from the Metropolitan Detention Center. Apparently, while Diddy was behind bars, he was still finding ways to communicate with the outside world, and not in a way that makes the system happy. He somehow got phone access codes from 8 different inmates and made all these sneaky calls, 3-way calls to people he shouldn't be talking to, using a sketchy service called Contact Me ASAP. There were even written notes suggesting payments to witnesses. And let's not forget the cherry on top. Records showing he was keeping an eye on social media analytics to see how public opinion was swaying. It's like he was playing 4D chess while everyone else was playing checkers. Now here's where it gets a little too spicy. The prosecution team has receipts showing Diddy was on this relentless mission to contact witnesses, trying to get them to change their stories, or at the very least soften their stance. And how is he doing this? Through family members. And let's talk about their game plan, because the prosecution isn't messing around. They're going full throttle with a multi-pronged approach, documenting every time he bent the jail communication rules, keeping tabs on how he was influencing public perception on social media, tracking his interactions with witnesses, and generally just stacking up evidence of obstruction. And while we're on the topic of the prosecution's strategy, let's not forget Deputy U.S. Attorney Edward Y. Kim. Even though U.S. Attorney Damian Williams recently left the scene, Kim is holding the line. He's basically saying we're not backing down. They've gone so far as to describe Diddy's actions as a relentless course of obstructive conduct. But just when you think the prosecution's got everything locked down, Diddy's defense team throws a curveball. Mark Anafilo, his lead attorney, finds out that some super private, privileged materials were taken from Diddy's jail cell, and not just any materials. These were 17 pages of handwritten notes about trial strategies, witness details, and even some personal stuff like phone numbers and inspirational quotes. The prosecutors, of course, had their own side of the story. Chrissy Slavic insisted the sweep wasn't some targeted move against Diddy, it was just standard procedure, but the defense wasn't buying it. They said it was outrageous government conduct and a violation of due process. And let's not forget the peanut gallery. Former federal prosecutor Nima Rahmani chimed in, pointing out that inmates don't really have a Fourth Amendment right to privacy in prison. It's harsh but true. The prosecution also doubled down, saying they used a filter team to make sure nothing privileged was improperly handled. Still, the defense wasn't satisfied. They want surveillance footage of the cell sweep, all communication about the search, and any documentation on how it was approved. Can you blame them though? They're probably thinking, if this happened once, what else could they be hiding? To top it all off, prosecutors are now accusing Diddy of running some kind of PR campaign to sway public opinion. It's like every layer of this case just gets messier and more intense. Between the legal battles, accusations of witness tampering, and now concerns about attorney-client privacy, it's clear this case isn't slowing down anytime soon. Honestly, at this point, who doesn't want to see how this unfolds? What happens when secrets you thought were buried come to light in the most dramatic way possible? Diddy's lawyer found out the hard way when Aaron Carter's leaked tape hit the courtroom, and they stormed out before anyone could process what had happened. What's so explosive in this tape that even Diddy's legal defense couldn't stay to fight it? Watch till the end, because this courtroom drama is about to get wild. Implications for Diddy's defense. Sean Diddy Combs and his defense team are honestly in a whirlwind right now, facing what might just be the toughest legal fight of their lives. The recent courtroom bombshell? Prosecutors have their hands on 96 electronic devices seized from his homes in Miami and Los Angeles. 96. Just imagine how much information is crammed in there. It's like sifting through a digital labyrinth, and you know what that means, right? The defense's job just got a whole lot messier. It's like every time they think they got a handle on things, another curveball gets thrown at them. Now, the lawyers are plotting their next move, and trust me, it's not as simple as shouting "not guilty" from the rooftops. They're arguing that the government's handling of this evidence is, well, a bit sketchy, maybe even outrageous. Ever wonder how privileged attorney-client materials get swept up in a raid? That's exactly what they're worried about. So, what can they do? They've got options. They might challenge the way these materials were seized, or question if some of this electronic evidence is even legit. Imagine combing through all that data and trying to figure out if everything's authentic, and if they feel there's been any funny business with privileged communications, they can file motions for that too. They're even ready to demand immediate hearings if they think any constitutional rights have been stomped on. Attorney Mark Agnafilo, one of the big players on the team, is making it crystal clear that they're not just tossing out blanket denials. They're rolling up their sleeves and bringing some specific facts to the table, especially facts that poke holes in the prosecutor's arguments. One key angle: consent. Agnafilo claims they've got 6 witnesses who've all said they weren't coerced or pressured. So if the government's trying to say there were consent issues, well, that's going to be a tough sell. And speaking of the defense team, they've really assembled a powerhouse squad. 2 names are making waves: Anthony Rico and Alexandra Shapiro. People are calling them a dream defense team, and honestly, it's easy to see why. Rico is a heavyweight who's tackled 45 federal death penalty cases. Then there's Shapiro, who is a wizard when it comes to appellate law. It's like having a tactical genius for every possible scenario. But even with this killer team, there's still a massive roadblock. Combs is stuck in the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, and the conditions there are, well, grim. We're talking unsafe and squalid levels of grim. It's not exactly the ideal setting for building a solid legal defense, and it makes communication with his lawyers a nightmare. And guess what? The trial isn't exactly around the corner. It's been pushed back to May 5th, 2025, but even with that delay, there's a mountain of work ahead. There are hearings lined up to review all that privileged material, court dates to authenticate evidence, and the timeline might stretch even further because, hold on to your hat, there are 120 more accusers who plan to file lawsuits, and if things weren't already complicated enough, prosecutors are saying Combs tried to subvert the integrity of the case by contacting witnesses. That's why he's been denied bail 3 times. They're worried he might mess with the witnesses, and that's a red flag in any courtroom. So now not only is Combs fighting for his freedom, but there's also his entire business empire on the line. We're talking Bad Boy Records, Combs Enterprises, and all the profits tied to them. Prosecutors believe these companies were wrapped up in the alleged criminal conspiracy, and they're ready to go after every dollar. And here's the surprising part: those civil cases, they're like extra ammunition for the prosecution. Kamran Dawlatshahi, an entertainment attorney, put it best: any evidence that pops up in these civil suits could easily find its way into the criminal trial. It's like fighting a war on 2 fronts, and the defense team has to juggle both battles without dropping the ball. One slip, and everything could come crashing down. Honestly, it's a messy, high-stakes saga that feels like it's only going to get messier. Can they protect Combs' freedom and his business legacy at the same time? Who knows? But one thing's for sure, this is a legal roller coaster that isn't slowing down anytime soon. Buckle up.